Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my Super Bowl 56 prediction. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it has come that time once again. It's a bittersweet time in terms of the football season. We are coming to the crescendo of the season with Super Bowl 56. And we are at the very last game of a 283-game journey. We started back out on opening night with the defending champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who get to have that title until the 13th of February, playing the Dallas Cowboys and ending off in a game-winning field goal drive by Ryan Suckup. And now here we go, all this time later, 281 games later, entering this point to where we have one game left to go. The Super Bowl in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. And for the postseason, the Fanatic ended up going above 500 in both my against the spread and straight up picks for the postseason and having identical records. Though amazingly for the Fanatic, he ended up going a perfect undefeated in one spot and winless in the other, and in both ways, I did not think either were possible. So this past week on championship weekend, against the spread, I was perfect. Got both games right against the spread. They had the Bengals and Niners both covering. They both did. The Niners by half a point, and the Bengals winning outright in a huge, shocking upset. And straight up, for the first time, I think, in my entire nearly 14 years that I've been doing these picks, I think I went winless on a conference championship weekend. Very rarely do I go during the postseason and go winless, but I had the Chiefs and Niners in the Super Bowl, and it ended up being the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams. So that meant I went 0-2 against straight up, which is a rarity for me in this postseason aspect. My overall postseason record entering the final game of the year, I am going to be against the spread and straight up both 7-5. That equals up 58.3%. So I mean they're going to be 7-6 or 8-5. So that equals up to about 53 or, let's see, 8 out of 13. So about, nearly 60 or 51%, regardless of what, on the outcome. But the good news is I ended up going above 500 against the spread and straight up for the postseason. And overall for the year, with one final game left, I ended up going against the spread 133, 145, and 6. So that will give me at least a 47% winning percentage. Regardless, it could bump me up to 48% with a victory against the spread. And straight up, I am now 182, 101, and 1. So unfortunately, I did crack the 100 loss threshold. I was only 1 week away from not having to deal with that, but it's happened. So now that equals to 64.3% straight up. So against the spread, I can live with 48%. Definitely not my typical goal of getting about 500 on the betting lines, but I will take it. And straight up, I got to 64.3%, 64.5% with another victory on Super Bowl Sunday. That equals just around my average, a little bit below. I'm a little disappointed in that. I wanted to try to see if I get to 66, 67% straight up. But getting about 64, 65% of the games right is around my average for every season. So that way I'm okay with that. But what a crazy championship weekend it was. The Bengals and Chiefs game, a story of two halves. The Bengals, first 3 drives, the Chiefs scored 3 consecutive touchdowns. Just went up and down the field on the Cincinnati Bengals. And I was incredibly impressed with how the Chiefs were going. Mahomes had a 98 QBR, the ESPN stat. Excuse me. And then in the second half, he did a complete 180 and had arguably the worst half of football he's had since the Super Bowl last year against the Buccaneers. Could not get anything going. The Bengals switched to they're playing a lot of man to a lot of zone coverages, and they were basically daring the Chiefs to run the football. And unfortunately, they were playing against Andy Reid, who has a very hard time trying to run the football. And Mahomes looked flustered. The interception on by B.J. Hill really changed the momentum of the game. Burrow ends up driving on the short field and getting the touchdown pass to Jamar Chase, then getting the 2-point conversion to Trent Taylor to tie the game. And then Money McPherson, 12 out of 12 field goals. The most field goals by a rookie in his first postseason, has not missed in the postseason, coming up clutch with not only the game leading field goal, about 6 minutes left to get it to overtime, but the game-winning field goal, a 31-yarder to win. And for Joe Burrow and the Bengals, this team just 2 seasons ago was 2-14. It was Andy Dalton's final year, and Joe Burrow was leading the national champion LSU Tigers to an undefeated season and one of the best, if not the best, overall season in college football history for a college quarterback. The next year, last year, tore his ACL against the Washington football team after he was taking a beating from a very banged up, very bad offensive line from Cincinnati. Recovers from that, and now is getting the Bengals to their first Super Bowl since 1988. That is an incredible story. It has shifted the whole narrative of the Cincinnati franchise. They have 3 tremendous receivers. Jamar Chase, number 5 overall pick, first round this year. T. Higgins, a year before, number 33 overall from Clemson. And Tyler Boyd, a third-round pick himself from, I believe, the 2016 draft, or 2016 to 2017 draft. A very good third receiver. I would argue the best number 3 receiver in the entire league. They have Joe Mixon, second-round pick out of Oklahoma. The offensive line is still a problem. But the Bengals and Joe Burrow fought hard through it, and are in the Super Bowl. And Zach Taylor, who was on the verge of getting fired if this year had flailed out entering his 3rd season, now essentially has job security for at least the next 2 years. If not, if he wins, he can earn a contract extension, which I did not think was possible when the year started. And I thought for the Chiefs, it was very much a sense of where the turning point of the game to me was the last play of the first half. I would have gone for the field goal, made it up 14. Andy Reid and the Chiefs thought they needed to really go for the final knockout shot by getting that touchdown. They threw that little out route to Tyreek. He tried to run it in from the side, could not do it, and the Chiefs ended up getting nothing and keeping it an 11-point game. And then after that, they really could not move the ball. It was very, and it's a moment to where I feel like for the Chiefs fans, they still have one of the best teams in the league. They have very good offensive line, 2 of the best weapons in all football, a tight end and wide receiver, one of the best overall talented quarterbacks, some good defensive pieces in Chris Jones and Frank Clark, and Tyrann Mathieu, who are still going to be there. They have L'Jarius Sneed. They have Nick Bolton, who's going to be really good. They have Juan Thornhill. They have good defensive pieces around to be, good for a long time. However, this is a team that I do not think next year, if you look at the landscape of the AFC, if you want to say the Chiefs are the favorite, you can say that. But I would say the Chiefs are in a position to where they are not the overwhelming definitive favorite as they've been the last couple seasons. I don't think they are the overwhelming definitive favorite. I think if you look at the AFC, the Buffalo Bills will be in that conversation. The Bengals, who have $59 million in cap, or I'm sorry, $58 to $59 million in cap space, they're going to be in the conversation. The Chargers are going to be better. The Broncos, with the hiring of Nathaniel Hackett, the former offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, if Aaron Rodgers comes into the division, that will be significant. The Ravens have good talent. Trevor Lawrence, if the Jags can somehow get their team right. There's a lot of young and talented quarterbacks in the AFC that I don't know if Patrick Mahomes with this team, with the current moves that they have to make, some decisions they have to make, I don't think they're going to be the overwhelming favorite next year or moving forward. They're not a dynasty, and Patrick Mahomes actually pulled a Tom Brady and blew a 21-3 lead going into half, or 21-10 lead. He blew the lead just like the Packers were trying to, but the Bucs ended up winning last year that Mahomes could not. I think for the Bengals, it's also just an incredible story because to me, like when you look at the Bengals, that's amazing how this city in Cincinnati that after 88 went through a period of absolute utility through the 1990s to when they got Marvin Lewis and Carson Palmer and Jed Johnson, then they elevated to mediocrity, excellence. Always a good team that could make the playoffs more often than not, but you never thought they could win a big playoff game. Whenever the biggest games are on the line, the Bengals were not the benefactors of that. To now with Zach Taylor, the Bengals have one of the best overall situations in the entire NFL moving forward until they have to pay Burrow, which is not going to be until after next season. So, I want to congratulate the Cincinnati Bengals. What a story, what a run. And for those people that had 25,000 who put the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl and bet on a plus $25,000 ticket, congratulations, you are getting your payday today. So, And then when you look at the Rams, on the other hand, the Rams are the story of what every major city, every major metropolis, you love and you hate about them. The Rams pull the Yankees. I'm just going to say. For all the moves they've made over this season, or over the offseason last year, and this current season now, or they essentially were the New York Yankees of the NFL. They bought themselves a second trip in 4 years to the Super Bowl by acquiring Von Miller, by acquiring Odell Beckham, by trading for Matthew Stafford, by acquiring Sony Michel, by having Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, by having all this talent. Cooper Kupp, who has emerged, in my opinion, going into next year, okay, I will take him as the best wide receiver in football. Devontae and DeAndre are 2 and 3 and very close. But they have the best wide receiver in football. They have one of the best defensive lines with Leonard Floyd and Aaron Donald signed long term. Excuse me, Von Miller may very well be up for returning, just like Odell Beckham. But this is the Rams team that put everything into this year, knowing they had the talent to do it, and trading Jared Goff away. And Matthew Stafford, for as much as I've ragged on, and I think he's a bust, and I thought he was a bust, obviously, after this season, I was dead wrong about that. Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback that was hampered by decisions. Okay, I do want to say this stuff for everybody out there. People are saying, oh, Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer if he wins this one ring. Slow your roll there, okay? Has he changed his narrative about being a bust and what, was it more of the organization? Yes. But Hall of Fame, everybody remember, this guy's still a losing quarterback, okay? And it's 1 year, okay? Who knows what the next year's going to have for Matthew Stafford? What's going to happen, for the Rams moving forward, okay? In this kind of scenario where you go all chips in for 1 year. So, has Matthew Stafford changed his whole narrative from being a bust? Is he, a very good quarterback? Will he justify the Rams contract? Has he justified everything the Rams have done? Yes. But Hall of Fame, everybody slow your roll, okay? Matthew Stafford's really changed his legacy. But is he a Hall of Fame quarterback? Not even close. Not yet, in my opinion. Okay, but when you look at that game yesterday, the Rams were playing a nemesis in the 49ers that they have known. They have lost the last 6 games to them. And the Niners were playing nip and tuck. Matthew Stafford throwing that really bad red zone interception was tough. And I thought that might have been the downfall. But the Niners were only able to get, I believe that they couldn't even get anything out of that turnover. And another key play of the game was Jaquiski Tart. I really think the Rams were down by 3. And Stafford threw this really long but underthrown pass right into Jaquiski Tart's hands. And he dropped it, and it gave the very next play. Odell Beckham runs up the left sideline, beats the cover 2 defense, and then Tart hits him helmet to helmet. It gets him almost 45 plus yards in one play due to the 15-yard penalty, and the Rams were in business after that. Cooper Kupp had 2 tremendous touchdowns, and the Niners, for as dominant a running attack as they wanted to be, Kyle Shanahan only got 50 yards on 20 carries, and they made Jimmy Garoppolo throw the football. And Jimmy Garoppolo had a couple of nice throws, or one really good throw to George Kittle. Deebo Samuel ran the other touchdown, of course. Had to get him in position. But at the end of the day, when the chips were down, the Rams, they got the field goal to take the lead. Jimmy Garoppolo tried to do that, and then he pulled his Carson Wentz, Kyler Murray memorial throw of just heaving it in the air, trying to avoid a sack, getting into the last worst turnover at the worst time. So, congratulations to the Rams for the Niners. It was a heck of an over-accomplishing season. I thought the Niners, their success should have been making the playoffs. I don't think anybody expected them to get into the conference championship game and be literally one drive away from not getting there. I think the Niners have a very talented roster. They're going to need to improve in the secondary and pay Deebo Samuel the type of money that he wants, which will probably be around $17 and $19 million a year. And I think now Jimmy Garoppolo's time in San Francisco has come to an end. I do believe he will be traded for at least a third, if not a second-round draft pick for his resume and his credentials. But I do think the Jimmy Garoppolo era in San Francisco is over, and it is time for Trey Lance to take the helm as the starting quarterback for the 49ers moving forward. It's time for Trey Lancelot to start his journey. But, those are my thoughts on the conference championship game. Please let me know. And before I get into my pick, let me ask everybody out there. I'm going to throw this out to anybody that makes comments, or you can message me at Matthew and Fanatic. I know I've done against the spread picks for the last few years, and ever since I've done picks, I've always done straight up. How many people out there, just put thumbs up, yes or no, how many people out there that watch me would like me to add over and under bets to my predictions? I've never done them. I've seen, on the same website I use, OddsShark, they do have over-under bets. How many people would like me to attempt over-unders going into next season? So just let me know. I'd be willing to try it, but I like to hear feedback from my viewers, what they think. So, all right. So those are all my thoughts. So now let me get into my prediction. So my initial, so here we go. Super Bowl 56, Sunday, February 13th at 6:30 p.m. at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, on NBC/Peacock/Universal. And I thought that off the top of my head. I knew that. When the Los Angeles Rams, the road team technically, play the Cincinnati Bengals in SoFi, the Los Angeles Rams are 4-point favorites in this game. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals here +4 to cover against the spread. But I believe the Los Angeles Rams, for the second consecutive year, the home team will win the Super Bowl in front of their own home crowd, quote unquote. I have the LA Rams winning the Super Bowl straight up, but Cincinnati +4. The reason why I am going with the Los Angeles Rams is that in this type of game, I believe the Rams' defensive line is going to be too much for Joe Burrow. I know Joe Burrow is a good athlete, and boy did he show a lot of athleticism going against the Chiefs' defensive line yesterday. He was avoiding sacks every which way. Chris Jones had him twice. There were some other good runs. But just remember, just 2 games ago, he got sacked 9 times by the Titans' defensive line. And the Rams have a much better defensive line. I just think the Rams, in a way also as well, I look at the matchups and say, Kansas City, if you take out Kelce and just go pure wide receiver, Mecole Hardman was their number 2 wide receiver. They waived Josh Gordon. But then after that, they really have nobody. Byron Pringle, DeMarcus Robinson, Blake Bell. They really had no other legitimate weapon to throw to if Tyreek and Travis, weren't open. The Rams are a different story. The Rams have Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, Odell Beckham and Van Jefferson. Odell Beckham and Van Jefferson are much better than what the Chiefs have in terms of their second and third options. Okay, the Bengals, they don't have bad options themselves. You got Jamar Chase, obviously, your number 1 wide receiver, and you have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. They're 2 and 3. You can change those 2 out, who you believe is better. I think Tyler Boyd's a 3. I think T. Higgins is the 2. You could argue either way. The other way, and I could accept that. But they have 2, the receiver depth and the receiver talent are about a push, in my opinion, just in terms of talent and expectations. In the running games, you have Joe Mixon and P. Ryan against Cam Akers and Sony Michel. I'd probably take the Rams slightly. The offensive lines, the Rams have a better offensive line. And there's just a part of me going, the other big advantage I have here is that it's Sean McVay going up against his former quarterback coach in Zach Taylor. Okay, Zach Taylor's done a phenomenal job, and Sean McVay's coaching tree has amazingly all held up. Matt LaFleur's still with the Packers, Zach Taylor's still with the Bengals, and it very much looks like Kevin O'Connell, Kevin O'Connell could be getting the Jags job, so another person that Sean McVay knows could be getting another head coaching job to keep his tree growing. But at the end of the day, when you look at this type of game, I think the Rams have the receiving talent to match up with the Bengals, so I think Stafford's going to have an easier time throwing, and they won't be able to make those, zone kind of coverages. Stafford's too experienced and too knowledgeable not to find the weaknesses in that defense. The tight ends are about to push because Higbee left the game in the first quarter with an ankle injury. Uzama has a sprained MCL, so I do not think he will play. But I don't know if Higbee will play either, so if that cancels out, that'll be huge. I just think at the end of the day, when you look at Stafford, you look at the Rams' talent, it's just a bit better than the Bengals. And the one key thing that the Rams have is the one thing against the biggest Bengals weakness, which is that defensive pass rush trio of Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, and Aaron Donald going in through this. It'll be significant and impactful in terms of how they, make a bigger impact in this game. I also think Stafford, he knows this kind of moment. He understands, and there's a lot more experience in the Super Bowl in this type of environment. I'm not saying, the Bengals are going to go nuts. I feel like the Bengals, they all understand this moment. I just don't think with Stafford's talents and Sean McVay's knowledge of Zach Taylor, and I know Zach can do the same thing, I think Stafford outplays Burrow by just the knowing of the scheme, the little bit better talent, and I just trust Stafford in this spot to understand that Joe at the end of the day is 25. I'm not saying, he could get back to the Super Bowl. Stafford, this might be his only first and last chance to win a title and change his legacy. Joe Burrow still has a long way to go. And I just think Stafford outplays Burrow because he understands the Bengals defense a bit more, and I think the Bengals defense, besides secondary, is weaker than the Rams. And I think the Rams' pressure causes more pressure up front and one more turnover. That gets the Rams this victory, which will make home teams in the Super Bowl 2-0 for consecutive seasons. That's amazing, though, by the way. 54 years, no home team was able to host Super Bowl. In 2 years, back-to-back, both two home teams were able to host Super Bowls in their buildings. And the Rams were the first team to hold a championship game and the Super Bowl in their same building. Do I think Cincinnati has a chance to win? Absolutely. I think Cincinnati at this point, they're very much like an all of 2013 Auburn or one of these magical teams, the Jim Valvano UNLV 87 team. Nobody knows what the Bengals can do. Nobody should doubt the Bengals with their moxie, with their grit, with the kicking, because I would take Ed McPherson over Matt Gay. I think the Bengals, they understand, they've been doubted this whole time. And they've overcome every single time with big kicks and big throws by Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow was not scared of this moment. But at the end of the day, I think the Rams, with their defensive line, get more pressure than either the Chiefs or the Raiders. The Chiefs, Titans, or the Chiefs or Raiders were not able to do. And I think that Stafford wins this game off a great throw to Cooper Kupp to end the game. Just like what's happened the last couple times in big moments. So it should be a great game. Like I said, I'm taking the Bengals plus 4. I'm hedging because I think it's not going to be a 3-point game. Most of these playoff games this year have been decided by about 3 points or less. So I think it's very fitting that it ends that kind of way. But I'm going to take the Rams. Better quarterback. McVay knows Taylor. Taylor learned everything from McVay, but McVay didn't teach Taylor everything he knows. I know I butchered that quote, but that's on me. So, but again, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals here plus 4, but the LA Rams straight up based on better defense, more consistent defense, and I just trust that the Rams' talent will overcome the Bengals in a slight way. So that is my prediction and thoughts on Super Bowl 56. So that is it. So good luck to everybody out there, both teams, both players, anybody playing daily fantasy in the Super Bowl. Good luck to everybody out there in California, in LA, in that stadium. Good luck to the halftime show. It seems like it's going to be very entertaining. 90s throwback halftime show with Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, Eminem, all those great, hip-hop entertainers. And until next week, I am going to do a review video for the season, and I'll put out some other thoughts, and I might, over the season, put out some draft thoughts or free agency thoughts. Also, I'd just like to know, hear from everybody else, what are your thoughts on my over-under proposition for next season? Would viewers out there like me to add that into my picks, just to have 3 sets of picks? But please let me know. But until next week for my 2021 season wrap-up video, where I will give my early Super Bowl 57 prediction for in Miami in 2023, this is Matt the Fanatic signing off. Until next time, so long.